They're conditions that confuse most doctors: mast cell activation syndrome and histamine intolerance. And yet they cause you to have often severe allergy symptoms. But the NIH says, and I quote, the cause is unknown. Well, Dr. Maggie is here and she isn't confused.
And that actually makes me mad that so many of these symptoms and disease states that we're talking about, and a lot of them linked with allergy or autoimmune type underlying disorders, have written that the cause is unknown. Well, I sure as hell know what is causing mast cell activation and histamine intolerance. And today, for the first time, you guys are going to hear from me directly. And this is from actual evidence. I'm going to share some case studies of people who've actually gone through our program with severe cases of mast cell or histamine intolerance. And I'm going to show you exactly and walk you through what was the underlying cause for them and how to solve this. For those of you that are new to us and watching this for the first time, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, a huge community. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a follow. And please subscribe to our channel so you get notified every time we go live. So yeah, this is a huge topic, Anne. I mean, it's almost unheard of outside of the autoimmune and the allergy community, but it is one of the most common set of symptoms and diagnoses that we deal with. Digestion, to me, and I've said this, is the holy grail in one of the most common causes of autoimmune disease and mast cell and histamine intolerance, period. And the mounting level of data and research coming out about digestion as the underlying role of all these increased allergy reaction is damning, And yet, do you know that your doctors get zero training in digestion? I'm talking about your GI specialists.
Wow.
I'm even talking about your naturopath and functional medicine doctors. Okay. So latest research, right, is that, believe it or not, example, in your gut lining, there's mucus mucin layer, there are cells, there are mucosal cells. These mucosal cells help with digestion, right? But if there's any infection or disruption in this cell lining in their function, then these allergens are able to penetrate right underneath it. It's literally 1 millimeter below. If they could get 1 millimeter below these mucosal cells under the mucin layer, boom. That's the difference between someone having Crohn's or not.
Wow.
The difference between someone having a life-threatening reaction or not. That's also the difference between colon cancer. Do you know that they have found actually that the disruption of that mucin layer and the introduction of two specific species of bacteria underneath that mucin layer is what causes colon cancer?
I've never heard that. I guarantee you many people that are listening right now have never heard that.
So the health of these cells and the work that they do is really important. And that's how we're going to talk about digestion right now. With digestion, your cells throughout your gut cells and your liver and your gallbladder and the bacteria in your gut, along with your gut cells, are every step of that digestion is so important. And in our program, we spend weeks going through all these different phases of digestion and how they impact upon all autoimmune diseases. And that's why, number one, when we talk about autoimmunity, we already know that genetically, based on data, 90% of people with autoimmune disease don't have enough stomach acid. And stomach acid is, number one, the first step in digestion to break down your food, but it's also your number one defense against infection coming in. Now, let's just talk about digestion with breaking down food. If you don't have stomach acid to break down the food into smaller pieces, the allergen piece of that food that's presenting is in such huge numbers that, let's say you ate a cucumber and that's your problem. If you don't digest it, 1,000 particles will present into the blood. If you digest it, maybe 50 particles will present in the blood. So this is the difference between a person who's going to have no reaction and a person who's going to die from that reaction. And it's your freaking digestion. And the first step is just stomach acid. And we have many steps of digestion. So this is why every single person starting our program starts to learn about digestion, and they start realizing that genetically people have autoimmune disease because they have shitty digestion.
Yeah.
People have autoimmune disease because they have shitty digestion that they're born with. Proper digestion decreases allergen presentation in the blood, period. So if you have any sort of allergy disorder, It's because you're not digesting your food well and to break down the allergen in the food so then it presents in your blood. So why aren't we stopping the source of what's causing the histamine release later, right? I mean, how many of you guys are going to Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins? By the way, all of you guys come to me last. Okay. Why don't you listen to me first so you don't have to go there? So we get the hardest cases that after they go to Mayo and Johns Hopkins, they come to us and then I eat that problem for breakfast, right? But the thing is, is that why aren't we just stopping the allergen from coming in the first place that triggers the mast cell, right? That's a root cause, and that's from digestion. And then you have these stupid, this is actually stupid. This is like maddening. Then how come my doctors put me on acid reducers for my heartburn? Yep, there are iatrogenically, meaning doctor producing more and more worsening allergy reactions and disease.
But this happens to so many people with autoimmune issues. It happened to me when I first was diagnosed with my issues. That was one of the first things they put me on, and they gave me a prescription for one. They told me to take an over-the-counter one. I
Yep.
was on very high.
You have your allergy symptoms get worse and worse and worse. Your doctors just created through that little purple pill a worsening allergy reaction that worsens over time. That could be even the beginning of many people's mast cell and histamine intolerance problem is the first moment they take one of these pills to stop the acid production. Because they just like, oh, you have heartburn? Why don't you take it? And then you wonder why 3 years later, oh my God, this person has mast cell activation. Why don't you take some Prozac? Let's get another medication on board here, right?
Right. You're cuckoo because sometimes you can eat it and sometimes my own family would say to me, but I don't understand. You used to be able to eat that just fine. Now all of a sudden you can't eat it. And I'm like, yes, I'm not making this up. And I think so many people can relate to that frustration of like, what's happening? Why is
Yeah.
this happening to me? Is it in my head? But no, I'm experiencing these real symptoms.
And Marissa here brings up a really good point. The lead mast cell researchers aren't even looking at digestion. Of course, they're not. They have no training in digestion. There is zero training in digestion in the conventional medical world, even your GIs. And there is a little bit of it in the natural world, but naturopathic or functional medicine world, but they're not connecting it with mast cell or they're not connecting it with autoimmune disease. So this is where I think that people, start to get into this whole thing where it's just supplementation. A lot of times people are going to these naturopath functional medicine doctor to get on 100 pills of supplements every day, and that's the solution. Why don't I teach you about your digestion so you can fix this problem for life? Why don't I help you figure out using your own data and food mapping, not just the digestion piece, but give you the data that it's the almond or the egg. So you don't have to take that shit anymore. How about that?
Actually, I spend thousands of dollars on those supplements too because it gets so expensive.
I'm probably the worst salesperson for a supplement company that you can get because I'm really interested in teaching people what's really causing that problem in them. So they don't just have a blind dependency model on these natural or functional doctors or on supplements. I mean, this is how they make their money.
Right.
But at the same time, why the hell would I teach people to do that? Because I think my purpose is different. I am so fascinated with the why in each individual person that having you on a recurring subscription of $1,000 worth of supplements every month is ridiculous to me. I'm in the business of teaching people how to know their cause, minimize the trigger in the first place so their need for supplementation and medication goes way down. If you're interested in the program and learning more about exactly the whole kit and caboodle of what I do, check your message requests and see if we sent you a message. But we're going to put a link where you can message our team. In our 5 pillars training video, I go over actually all the pillars that's feeding autoimmunity. Those are the exact same pillars that it's feeding mast cell and histamine intolerance. So if you're interested in seeing the 5 pillars training and how I connect the dots like this, connecting all these seemingly unconnected topics that really are the holy grail root causes, type 5 pillars in chat.
And we'll see you next week with more on this.
Big love, everybody. Bye.